Hi, this is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. It is Tuesday afternoon. It is beautiful here in Cleveland, Ohio today, and it is time for What in the World with
Paul Seaburn.
That's
I
you.
think I think that's what I should. I should have a nameplate over here. So we can, 'cause I do have brain farts occasionally, as
Oh,
we all know.
I'm glad we're separated then.
There you go. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not close. That's good. That's a good thing.
that's exactly right, John. Thank you. So yes, I am. I'm Paul Seaburn. This is What in the World, the strangest newscast that you're ever going to hear on the podcast world and radio and all the other media events. And I'm here with our producer, Karen Hale, at newclevelandradio.net. Thank you, Karen. And John DiNallo, my old friend with What in the World of Sports and Trivia and all that other stuff. Hi, John.
Hey, hi, Paul. Hi, Karen. Another week, and I think we got a great show lined up for everybody.
Oh, we'll find out, won't we? It's none of us were at rehearsal.
That is true. That is true also.
I want to say thank you to everyone who is tuned in to our show live. We're on newclevelandradio.net, which is Karen's podcasting platform. There's a lot of great podcasts on there. Please, if you come to visit us there, take a look at us, of course, or listen to us, find out all the platforms we're available on, and then listen to some of her other podcasts. If you're on YouTube and you're watching us live, thank you for joining us. I want to mention, I got a couple of requests over Facebook this week that asking what time zone we're in. We are in the Eastern time zone. I believe we're still on daylight saving time, if I'm
Yes,
not
we are.
mistaken. Yeah, because it's hard to believe because it's pitch black at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's a weird world, and thank God, because I wouldn't have anything to talk about, right?
That's exactly right.
So anyways, yeah, we're in the Eastern time zone. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in. I know we have people tuning in from Texas, from Poland, from the East Coast, from the West Coast. So thank you all for joining us. If you're watching us later in the future, here's a wave from the past. So far, everything's cool today. So we'll see. I hope you do get to watch us in the future. And that's all we're going to say about that. So what in the world am I talking about today? Karen, your favorite monster is back in the news, the chupacabra.
Wow.
Yes, from San Antonio, Texas. So this is going to be a fun story for our Texas friends. We're going to Venezuela and Venezuela. I'm sorry, I just got a note from my home producer. This was my top story on Facebook this week. Venezuelan tarantulas. They're a foot across. Okay, and of course I have great visual aids, so we'll be taking a look at those and why people are looking at them. Human-sized scorpions. Sounds like a promo for a horror movie. They're actually real things, and they came up on land. So not a good day to go visit the beach. In fact, there was a guy in England who was attacked by a cannibal fish, which isn't supposed to come on land. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the biggest fish in the ocean. I'm going to have you guess what that fish might be. We're going to talk about rum on the Isle of Rum and why there's never been rum on the Isle of Rum until now. And then the top story of the week, a UFO in New Jersey, which wasn't what people thought it was. So we're gonna find out what exactly it was and why they're. Well, of course, all I should say is New Jersey, and that explains everything. But we'll still look into it. And we got more strange trivia, more strange sports with John DiNallo. As always, real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our goal, our motto, our mission at What in the World. And I almost forgot. We're going to play Bluff the Co-host. John's favorite game.
You better not forget.
No, I won't. Oh, no. No, you guys got all three of them right last week. So
yeah, we were all-stars last week there.
You guys were all. I wouldn't call you an all-star, John. Now come on.
Oh,
You did very well. You got a B.
That's an improvement.
This isn't politics. You know, you don't always get an A. You got a B.
Okay, understood.
All right. So speaking of B's, our first story is a B. I wanted to start with something light because the rest of these weird animals are going to get pretty heavy fast. So this is the one about the rum. John, are you a rum fan?
Not really. Occasionally, but no, I would say as a rule, I'm not a rum drinker.
Not a rum fan. Karen, how about you?
No, thank you.
No. But you know where rum comes from. Where does rum come from?
Plant,
John?
a plant of some kind, right? Plant.
Oh, no, I meant like what countries are famous for.
Oh, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico,
Puerto Rico,
rum. No?
yeah, the Caribbean, the West Indies.
Right.
Yeah, believe it or not, rum originated in India, not in the West Indies, but in the actual country of India.
Never
And
knew that.
also yeah, in the Philippines. And I didn't realize that the Philippines I knew had sugar cane. I didn't know that India also had sugar cane. And that's the main ingredient in what we traditionally call rum. It's made from either sugarcane molasses or sugarcane juice.
Okay.
How? Yeah. So there's this island called the Isle of Rum. Now, if you were to say, well, that's obviously must be in the Caribbean, you'd be wrong. It's actually in Scotland, which is not known for rum. Yeah. That's what I said. That's why I thought this was a good story. Not known for rum. This is in the Upper Hebrides, the famous group of islands north of Scotland. And it's called rum, but not because of rum. Now, rum, the word rum comes from the word, or this is a theory, rumbouillon, which is a beverage made from boiling sugarcane stalks. That's what it sounds like. Or rumbustion, which I like. I like this name, rumbustion, which was a slang word for uproar in England, or and I love this, a noisy, uncontrollable exuberance. Now, when was the last time you had a noisy, uncontrollable exuberance, John, that wasn't brought on by something you ate?
I read exactly. It sounds like fun if you ask me.
So that's where the name rum the name for the drink came from. However, the island has nothing to do with the beverage. The original name came from an Old Norse name. Because Scotland was attacked by the Vikings from the people from the Norse lands and taken over, and there's a lot of noise, Norwegian style words. So the word rum, it was from the Old Norse ramoi, which means wide island, or there's a Greek version which means Isle of the Rich. There is no sugarcane whatsoever on the Isle of Rum. Okay, but these two guys decided, hey, it's called rum, right? Maybe we should make rum. Then we could sell rum from the Isle of Rum. My kind of guys, they're thinking, okay? They didn't think all the way through, but they're thinking. So they said they're going to make it from natural ingredient found on the Isle of Rum. Well, guess what the two biggest things available on the Isle of Rum are? Sheep and potatoes. Now, if you put those two things together and distill them, you get maybe haggis vodka or something like that.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, doesn't sound good, does it, John?
I've been to Scotland and I've seen and looked at haggis, but I don't want to get near it.
I've heard rumors that hand sanitizer tastes like that. Tastes like something made from sheep and potatoes. Don't drink it, by the way, kids. Any kids listening at home,
no,
do not drink hand sanitizer. It's just what I heard. So these guys looking for something to do, they decide they're going to make this rum, and they found some plants, some holly plants, and some other stuff that they're going to attempt to distill. This is Scotland. How badly can you screw up? The Scots will still drink it. It's just right, John. No.
Yeah, I'll attest to that. They enjoy.
So I don't get all the hate mail myself.
No. I'll attest to that. They like to drink.
And they have been distilling booze for eons, for millennia.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure it'll taste good. So that's my little light story. So now let's get into some of these weird animals. And we'll start with fish. I thought maybe that would be a safe place to start, but it won't be. So, John, what do you think the largest fish in the world is? Do you know?
Well, I'm going to have to say a whale of some kind.
A whale. Oh, good thing this isn't Bluff the co-host. Karen, how about you? What do you think the biggest fish in the world is?
I think it's a shark.
Shark. Okay. Well, you're half right, and John, you're half wrong. Because,
Hey, I don't like that. That doesn't sound good.
well, I'll explain. So, John, a whale is a mammal. If you remember from grade school, whale is a mammal, not a fish.
You are right about that.
Okay. Karen was correct in that it's a shark, but it's actually the whale shark. Which is
never heard of that.
However, you're not quite there yet, because it's a certain kind of whale shark is the largest fish in the sea, and that is the female whale shark. So they did a big study on whale sharks. How you get money for these things, I don't know. So they did a study on whale sharks, and they found out that while they assumed that the male whale shark was the biggest fish in the sea, turns out that it's the female whale sharks which are the biggest fish in the sea.
You men are always telling us we're too fat.
No, I would never do that. I would never do that. However, I would say this, that I always refer to the lovely Donna as she who must be obeyed. The female whale shark just took that title because there's nothing bigger. There's no bigger female fish in the world than the female whale shark. So she really must be obeyed. How big is it, you may ask?
How big? It
is 47 and a half feet long is the average size. So that's 14 meters. That's 14 yards. That's a more than a first down.
Yeah.
Throw a little football analogy in there. So yeah, right. I'm not going to give her weight because I don't do that. So that's the biggest fish in the sea. Now, something that's equally big in a different way are these scorpions that they found in France. They found human-sized scorpions. Now, I know you're not going to believe me, so I have a simulated picture. This is not an actual picture, but a drawing that shows a guy next to one of these giant scorpions.
Wow.
Now that's one big scorpion.
Yes, it is.
You don't want to find one of these in your bathroom. I have encountered scorpions in my day and visits to and in living in Texas. The best scorpion is one that's smaller than the bottom of your shoe, for obvious reasons. These are not, okay. So this is called it's actually a sea scorpion because they live in the ocean. They lived in the ocean. This was from 340 million years ago. So we don't have too much to worry about here. And it's a good thing too, because they're huge, and researchers were studying their fossil, and they noticed the little discrepancy in the spine, which tells them and in the lungs, which tells them that these scorpions were able to climb on land and actually roam around. So if there were human beings around back then, this would have been the opposite of us eating lobsters today. These giant lobsters would have been chomping on us, cracking us open and finding some boiling water, hot spring someplace. But anyways, yeah, so they could breathe on land. They could breathe on land and walk around on land. Now, they didn't stand up like that picture. They weren't standing on two, whatever those things are that scorpions have. But really, as John pointed out, I think before the show, a walking scorpion sounds like a monster movie, a Stephen King movie. And I think I would love to write a movie like that about the scorpion that came on land. But only if I could get one particular singer to do the soundtrack. And that singer would be, John, you got to guess?
I'm
soundtrack of my Scorpions on Land movie. Sting. No, Sting, of course. He's a scorpion.
Sting,
Scorpions can
Sting. I like Sting, by the way. I like the Police.
You like I like Sting. I wasn't a big fan of the Police. But anyway, so there's our scorpion story for the week. Now, then moving to today, it's not safe to walk on the beach today either, according to this story. This one comes from New Zealand, from the North Island of New Zealand. A guy by the name of Con Fowler was his name. He's walking on a beach on Bayless Beach with his dog, and he sees a giant fish, 6-foot long fish on the beach. So, the fish was alive. So being a guy, what would you do, John? He walks up to it and he pokes it because that's what we do.
Yeah, sure.
So being a fish with teeth, he did what fish with teeth do. He bit the guy. So it serves him right, I guess, is what Karen would say, I'm sure.
That's what I would say.
So he jumps back, pulls out his camera. I think I have a picture. Oh yeah, I do have a picture of it. Takes out his camera and takes a picture of it. Now, I'm not sure I would poke a fish whose mouth looked like that.
Ooh, he's ugly.
Well, I'm sure his mother didn't feel that way, Karen.
Oh.
Actually, the fish looks very ferocious.
Yes, it is.
It's a
So,
ferocious fish.
oh wait, John, it's a cannibal fish. Not
Oh my
only does it have teeth, but it's a cannibal fish. So it's called the lancet fish. Okay, lancet. Those teeth look like lances, so that's what it's called. The lancet can grow up to 6.5 feet long. It's a predatory fish, chases other fish, found in every ocean, but usually like at least a mile under the surface. So this one wasn't where he was supposed to be, obviously. They're called scaleless lizards because they have no scales and they look like a lizard. And they're called cannibal fish because one of their favorite foods is other lancet fish. They do not discriminate. It doesn't matter what color the lancet fish is, what sex they are, how old they are, they eat them. It's their thing. That's the way they roll, I guess, as you might say. So we shouldn't even know about these things, but tuna fishermen catch them as a byproduct. They're reeling in their nets and their lines, and there's these lancet fish on there, so they have to carefully remove them and throw them back. So what they think is that this particular lancet fish was following a tuna boat, and he got lost and ended up on land, and ended up pretty far away from the water. So he was too far away that he could flop himself back. Fortunately, this guy, despite the fact that fish with those teeth bit him, he carefully picks it up and puts it back in the water, and it swam away. Now, I don't have a picture of the fin, but you know how big a shark's fin is. If you can imagine a fin that goes from the head all the way to the tail and is twice as high as the fish is wide. So it's like a sail on a sailboat. That's what they look like when they swim. Really cool. So, it was kind of a bad news, good news story for 2020.
Very unique, very unique.
Yeah. Now, you saw those teeth. So I certainly would not touch a fish with teeth like that. But would you expect a tree to have teeth like that?
No,
I got you on that one. Well, guess what? And it's all I have to say is one word: Australia. Australia not only has the weirdest and most dangerous snakes and toads and crocodiles and insects and all the other stuff. Turns out, new study finds they have the world's most dangerous tree. And it has a silly name. It's called the Gimpy tree, which I believe may have been named after George Bush the senior, because or no, he was Wimpy. That's what he was. It was Wimpy. This was Gimpy tree. Grows in the rainforest of Australia, can be up to 100 feet tall, which so far doesn't sound so bad. except they're covered with stinging nettles. Okay, now stinging nettles are common throughout the world. You know, I think we have them in the United States. Trees with stinging, those they're worse than the needles on your Christmas tree. And you know, if you just get stuck with one of those, it can hurt. Well, these things really look dangerous. They go off in all different directions. They're long. I forget how long. I think they're at least an inch long, and the tree is covered with them. Okay, so you really shouldn't get too close to this tree, just because it looks scary. But what they found, people were coming to the hospital and saying, my hand feels like it got caught in a car door. And they said, well, did it get caught in a car door? And they said, no, I brushed up against the gimpy tree. Yeah, right. Okay, the psychiatric ward is over there. No, seriously, that's what happened. It's a pain. It causes a pain that lasts for weeks, and it hurts like you clammed your hand in a car door.
Oh.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden the researchers are saying, hey, we need to take a look at this. So they pulled the needles carefully off, and they analyzed them under a microscope, and they found a brand new poison of venom that's similar to the venom that spiders use to bite their prey, but worse. So they call it gimpy-tides. That's the name for the gimpy tree. And not only do they attack the same pain areas as spiders do, but they mess with your sensory neurons. So they mess with your brain. So this is a bad thing. This is a bad thing. You go to, you're in Australia and you come across a snake or worse, a crocodile, one of those saltwater crocodiles that's 20 feet long, and you're running away, and you come up to a forest filled with these gimpy trees. Now then you have to make a decision. What do I do? Do I run in there and feel like I got hit by a car, or do I stay here and get hit by a car that's going to eat me? I don't know. I
guess it's kind of like pick your poison, so to speak.
Pick your poison. Oh, that's a good one. That's right. So, Australia better hope this doesn't get out. I mean, we have a lot of people watching What in the World, and we're exposing this story now. But if this could hurt the tourism business, I mean, some people are going to say, you can throw 1 million shrimp on the Barbie. I'm not going any place that has trees that bite me.
Yeah.
Well, do these trees offer anything to ecology? Why don't we just kind of get rid of them?
I don't know. Nobody wants to get close enough, I guess.
Well, let me ask you this, Paul. Let me ask you this: how widespread are these trees? Like, how widespread?
Good question. I ought to do a follow-up study on it.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, maybe you'll get paid for the study.
Yeah, right. Well, a free trip to Australia. I'm going to make a note of that because that sounds like a good idea. So while we're talking about venom, my most popular story on Facebook last week is this one. So researchers are studying this spider. Now, by the way, just to go back to the scorpion for a second, I said that the human-sized scorpion is extinct. However, there are still sea scorpions in the water. And if you want to take a look at how big they still can get today, here's a picture of a guy wrestling with a sea scorpion.
Wow.
Now that's bigger than a lobster.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah. That's bigger than a lobster. I don't think they're tasty. Otherwise.
I would try one. I haven't seen one on a menu lately. I'll have the scorpion. I'll have the scorpion.
Red lobster. Yeah, red scorpion. Yeah. All you can eat until you start to feel like, you got hit by a car. So, so we're talking about venom and spiders. Okay, so this tree is compared to the venom of spiders. Well, there just happens to be a spider in the news this week. The Venezuelan pink-foot Goliath tarantula. Now, this is a spider that deserves a 4-word name. It has a leg span of 30 centimeters, which is almost 12 inches. And if you need a visual aid of that, and I want to warn people, in particular, my dear friend in Texas, Steeler Girl, who does not like spiders. In fact, Steeler Girl she subscribes to 20 magazines. She doesn't read any of them. She just rolls them up and stacks them in her bathroom, just in case she finds a spider, and she's got one to grab and whack. They're all over her house. I said, what are these things? It's in case I find a spider. Do you ever read them? No.
Prevention is worth an ounce of cure. That's it, an ounce of prevention, right? It's worth a pound of cure.
So I know she wouldn't want to see a spider. Yeah, look at the size of that thing. Yeah. So that's the pink. Wait a minute. It's the pink Venezuelan pink-foot Goliath tarantula. You can't see from this particular picture. I had another picture on Facebook where the tips of the feet are pink. So that's why they're called pink foot. For those brave enough to get close enough to take a picture. So believe it or not, and these things do sting, okay? So somehow they get the venom out of them so that they can study, not so that it paralyzes them. And what they found out is that this particular venom can provide pain relief to people who suffer from irritable bowel syndrome. Now, that's a very painful condition from what I've heard. I don't have it, but I know people who have. 20% of the world's population suffers from irritable bowel syndrome. So this could be a cure or at least relief for 20% of the world's population suffering from pain that they don't want to take morphine or any of these other pain relievers for. The problem is, if you decide to go to Venezuela and catch one for yourself and let it crawl up your arm and sting you and hopefully get rid. Sorry, Karen.
I'm getting sick.
If you get too close to these spiders, you may suffer from irritable spider syndrome, which is not a good thing. So you don't want to get too close to them. But that's our spider story for today. Now, I'm not done yet. There's other things you don't want to mess with on What in the World today. And this brings us to Karen's favorite monster, which is the
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra, the goat sucker of Puerto Rican and Texas fame. So believe it or not, the Chupacabra has its own exhibit at the San Antonio Zoo in San Antonio, Texas.
Really?
How about that? I know what you're thinking. Does this mean that they captured one and they have it in a cage? Does this mean that they maybe have babies and they're at the petting zoo and you can go pet a Chupacabra? Which you may not want to do, John, because I know Karen knows this, but I have various illustrations of what a Chupacabra is said to look like. Okay, I think I'd go to the tarantula before I'd go to one of these boys.
They all look bad to me because they're on 2 feet and they're going to be mobile.
There you go. That's right.
But let me ask you this. To me, seeing those things, there is never a clear photograph. There is illustrations, Paul. I mean, come on, Paul and Karen,
Now, John, okay, hold on, John. That's what the exhibit is for. Okay, this is it's time for us to make a road trip to San Antonio, and perhaps they have one or at least some clear photograph. Unfortunately, they may be of the Texas Chupacabra and not the
Puerto Rican,
which is the Puerto Rican Chupacabra. So now Texas has kind of taken over the Chupacabra world. And Puerto Rico has fallen by the wayside because Texas, that's what they do. We're bigger than everybody. We're smarter and all that stuff. So they're looking for something unique to celebrate. So they're celebrating the Chupacabra at the San Antonio Zoo. Grand opening of a new exhibit to go along with Halloween and fall. Now, I never link Chupacabras to Halloween or fall, but that's where this fell.
Okay.
So they explain to anybody who's coming on their website that the Chupacabra means goat sucker. um, and it many people believe it's an urban legend, but obviously they're having an exhibit, so it's not. What is it? The press release says that it has never, and this is from the president of the zoo, so it's legit. Um, it was on the internet. So
Laugh at yourself, Paul. I like it.
I know, John. I'm sorry. so, so he says it's never been before been featured in a zoological facility, which the San Antonio Zoo is. By the way, it is known for breeding rare endangered species: the black rhino, golden lion tamarin, which is a little monkey, Dama gazelle, Atwater's prairie chicken, black mangabey, I have no idea what that is, and Caribbean flamingo. So they're well known throughout the world for breeding rare animals. So perhaps maybe they're going to breed the chupacabra. I don't know. So anyway, so they have this pristine reputation. They open up this chupacabra exhibit. Never before seen, okay? Except I did a very brief Google search, and it turns out on April 1st, 2016, the San Antonio Zoo, the same one, announced a chupacabra exhibit. What date was that again? April 1st, 2016. So on April 2nd, they said, "Oh, April Fool." It wasn't.
Pulling everybody's leg.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. So I would bring that up when we go. But this time they swear this is real. They didn't make the announcement on April 1st. It was in September. So they describe it, Karen. This is now the chupacabra. Okay.
Oh, love the chupacabra.
So they said this is a one-of-a-kind habitat. Okay. Now, I've done plenty of stories on the chupacabra. A chupacabra habitat, would that be a chicken coop filled with feathers and blood? Would that be a goat pen filled with fur and blood? Would it be a pasture filled with cow skin? You get the idea. You could finish.
I get the idea. Yeah.
So that's what a chupacabra habitat is. If you go to Puerto Rico or South America and Central America. If you go to Texas, it's different. In Texas, it's a dumped over garbage can, because most the chupacabras in Texas are generally mangy, skinny, hairless dogs that allegedly became that way, not necessarily from disease, but possibly from living near a chemical plant or a nuclear plant. So that's the definition of the Texas chupacabra. They still are rumored to attack livestock, but Texas adopted them, and you don't mess with Texas. So you don't mess with their chupacabras either, I guess.
No, please don't.
But this is a big deal. This is a big deal. So that not only do you get to see the chupacabra exhibit, they'll also be selling a new drink called the Goat Sucker, which comes with, they don't say what's in it. They just say that you can get the alcohol version or a kid's version. Comes with a set of plastic chupacabra teeth. Worth the trip just to get a set of plastic chupacabra teeth, in my opinion. If you're looking for it, it's near the Jaguar exhibit. They don't say what the Jaguar thinks about all this. And then if you go to the food court, they're selling chupacabra burgers. They don't say if it's made from chupacabra or from ground beef. It's just called the chupacabra burger.
Doesn't sound interesting to me.
Yeah,
No.
I agree with Karen. To me, that's very unappetizing.
Well,
burger, come on. Who's eating
okay,
those?
John. Okay, I'll get the burger. You can go to the Karen can get the drink and the teeth, and you can go to the souvenir stand where they have chupacabra medals that you can and wear on your shirt. My parents took me to the San Antonio Zoo, and all I got was this lousy chupacabra medal.
Oh my Lord.
I mean, I understand. I'm sure their revenues are down, their visits are down because of the pandemic. They're trying to make money any way they can. If they do a good job and really get into an in-depth study, they didn't call me, so I know they're not doing an in-depth study because they would have called me first.
Of course they would have.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Of course they
So
will.
anyway, so now I think if this goes well, all the zoos around the country are going to do the same thing because, as we've talked about many times, every city, every state has a monster, every lake has a monster, every river has every national forest has a monster. So before you know it, some zoo in New York is going to have Champ, the Lake Champlain monster. Arkansas is going to have the Fouke monster. Um, Georgia, the Altamaha, which is my favorite name. I don't remember what it is, but I just like that name. Cleveland, we could have the Lake Erie monster, Bessie. We could have the Frogman from Loveland, or maybe that would be at the Cincinnati Zoo. And then, of course, Bigfoot is everywhere. So every zoo could have a Bigfoot exhibit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're for my friends down in Texas, if you're interested, go to the San Antonio Zoo website. They got all the information. If you want to see a real chupacabra, go to Puerto Rico.
All
And that's all I
right.
have to say about that. That's all I have to say about that. So it's time to move to another subject. And as Karen would say, thank God. Um, or maybe you wouldn't say that during the holy days. I don't know. But anyways, so this one goes to my friend Christoph in Poland. If you're watching, Christoph, this is a UFO story from Poland. Now, I have a photograph. I'm going to show you the photograph. Please don't shout out what you think it is. Let me just preface that by saying that this photograph of a crashed or landed UFO in Poland hit the internet, and the UFO world went wild. Poland went wild first, then the UFO world went wild. So here is the Polish UFO. Okay, take a good look at that. Committed
Whoa.
to memory. All right, so you know what it looks like. I'm going to hang on to it because we may go back to it. So this thing was found in, and I'm going to read the name, and I apologize to all Poles who are listening that I'm going to very mispronounce it. Ruda Zajekowska is the name of the town. It's in south central Poland, population 380, not very many people there, about 2.5 hours south of Warsaw, 2 hours north of Krakow. So it's in between some big cities. They found this in the woods in that city. Ruda, I'll call it Ruda for short. So theories abound. There's theories just bouncing back and forth in the UFO world until someone who recognized it said, "Oh no, that's not a UFO. That's the back of a concrete truck, where the concrete mix spins around and before you pour the cement for a concrete job." So now if you take a look at it again, you can see
it bears a striking resemblance.
You know, and it fits into the truck there, and the cement thing goes over there, and so you wonder, and not to make any ethnic jokes here, how these people couldn't recognize it.
Wait a minute. I have a more central question. How did it get there?
What?
How did it get there among those two? Seriously.
It's a good question.
Aliens. I have no idea.
On the other UFO. That's right. On the other UFO.
There you go. That's right. And they said, "Oh, we're going to fool the humans with this one."
Oh my gosh.
So
well, it's weird. It's very weird. It's very weird.
Very weird. So you would think that no one could mistake something as obvious as the back of a cement truck for a UFO. You would be wrong, because this story comes out of New Jersey. Okay, multiple videos show up on social media last week. This was a major story on not just social media, but on the mainstream media, which I'm always thrilled when we cross over into the mainstream media. So this is on Route 21 in New Jersey. videos coming in from all up and down Route 21, millions of views on Facebook and on Twitter of a UFO. Now I'm going to show you the picture of the UFO. Shows up on the news. Look at that. No one can figure out what that UFO is. They're looking at it. They're shooting videos. They're calling the military. This is we're being invaded. It's War of the Worlds. At least we won't have an election. But gonna forget that. So turns out again, someone took a closer look at it. We'll take one more closer. Let's see if we can get closer. I don't think you can tell.
Nope.
They said, they investigated with the FAA, and the FAA said, oh no, that's the Goodyear blimp. The Goodyear blimp. So how could millions of people mistake the Goodyear blimp for a UFO, you may ask?
Good imagination.
No, Karen,
No.
That's a good guess.
Oh,
The reason is sports. The reason is the coronavirus. The coronavirus has canceled so many sporting events that the Goodyear blimp normally flies over that people have forgotten what the Goodyear blimp even looks like.
makes sense.
They see it up in the sky, and yet they don't recognize it because they haven't seen it. No football, no
In months. They've not seen it in months, easily.
months. That's right, John, months. So again, you would think, okay, maybe that's just the one-off. Maybe it's just New Jersey. Okay, you know how New Jersey is. They do weird things in New
There's
Jersey.
different things in New Jersey.
Yeah, this couldn't happen anyplace else in the world that they would mistake the Goodyear blimp for a UFO, could it? Au contraire. In 2012, above the London Olympics, okay, the Summer Olympics, this thing floated over. Now, again, this was on worldwide media. 1 billion people saw it. And for a long period of time, people were saying a UFO is watching the Olympics. Guess what? Au contraire, one more time. That was not a UFO. That was the Goodyear blimp again. Now, but they didn't recognize it again. And it wasn't because of any coronavirus shutdown. Goodyear finally had to make a statement. And here's what they said. That was the Spirit of Safety blimp, which I don't think flies anymore. Spirit of Safety blimp flying over London without the Goodyear sign on it, because although the company was covering the ceremonies, opening ceremonies for NBC, they were not an official sponsor of the 2012 Olympics, so they weren't allowed to show the Goodyear name on it. So all they had was the blimp and a big bright light.
There
Unbelievable.
it is. There it is.
There you go. So one more thing, and this reminded me. I did a story a couple years ago about Goodyear, Arizona. So if you Google it, there were the multiple UFO sightings in Goodyear, Arizona. Goodyear, Arizona has nothing to do with the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, but it has a lot to do with UFOs. They had tons of UFOs, and it turns out, again, if it's just the obvious, Goodyear, Arizona is in the mountains, right in between Luke Air Force Base and the Barry Goldwater Range, where pilots from Luke Air Force Base like to fly over and practice dropping bombs and then flying back. So if you see a UFO flying over Goodyear, Arizona, it's not the blimp, it's not a UFO, it's a pilot. Wave to them. Okay, say thank you for your service.
Oh,
So with all that merging of sports and UFOs, I thought, what better subject for our good friend John DiNallo to talk about on What in the World of Sports? And I knew John would go digging and find some more information about the link between Goodyear and sports and maybe even UFOs. So, John, what'd you find out?
well, Paul, I'll tell you what, I found some interesting information I'd like to share with everyone. So
All
here
right.
we go. Okay. So as you alluded to before, Paul, no major sporting event is complete without it. As a matter of fact, It's probably the best known lighter than air ship, except maybe the Hindenburg, which is famous for its explosion over New Jersey in 1937. And the
Oh, the
cause,
humanity. Right.
right, and the cause is still not defined as to exactly why the
No,
Hindenburg blew up.
that's
But
true.
that's
It's a
another story
mystery.
for another day. But let's move on here. So you may wonder about the Goodyear name. The name
Yes, I
Goodyear.
do. Yeah.
Well, it's actually the name of a hardware merchant from Connecticut, and his name was Charles Goodyear, who in 1809 he saw the potential commercial value of rubber products.
Right. But
So
not, but I know a little bit about rubber plants, and you don't just cut down a rubber plant and squeeze rubber out of it and make it into a tire.
it's compounds. It's
Yeah, there you
compounds.
go. That was the
Compounds
word. Yeah.
will create rubber products. So, anyways, so he invented a rubber compound that was less sticky and would hold the shape better than it actually did before, because he was experimenting with these compounds for years actually.
Okay.
Well, he then came up with a vulcanized rubber, and he named it. In other words, he said the process was a vulcanization process named after the Roman god of fire, Vulcan.
Oh, all right.
Unfortunately for Charles, though, he never made any money off of it.
Ah, always the case.
So in 1898, a gentleman by the name of Frank Seiberling, he and some investors started a new rubber company in Akron, Ohio.
Right down the street from us.
Yes, and he actually named the company after the inventor because he didn't want to have it confused with another chemical rubber product company, which was BF Goodrich.
BF good. BF good.
Oh,
Not Firestone.
No, not Firestone, but not
Wow.
BF Goodrich. Right, right. So, anyways, Goodyear gets into the tire rubber business. Excuse me, rubber product business, and they decide to make tires for first bicycles, then for cars, and then in 1922, Goodyear produced its first dirigible or Zeppelin or lighter than airship, and it was made of the same rubberized fabric of the skins of airplanes at the time. Now you have to think in the
Boy, yeah.
1920s, okay, those airplanes had some very, very thin
Right.
skin, but still
Yeah.
were effective enough. And, obviously we're
Well,
able to get the planes up in the air. So
probably
anyway,
1920, they probably still had wooden frames back then.
yeah, sure. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, sure, sure. So anyways, so it turns out that the US military uses Goodyear blimps in not only the Second World War, but also World War One. And they were used for observation and reconnaissance purposes.
Ah,
After World War II, Goodyear bought 5 of its blimps back from the armed forces, painted them a different color, because obviously a blimp or dirigible in a wartime setting is going to be a drab color and not bright or what have you.
camouflage.
Camouflage, exactly
But
right.
which would be blue, I guess, if you want to
Well,
hide in the sky or
exactly. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so they painted it though with the Goodyear name on, and then
right.
began using those blimps for promotional purposes. So in 1958, Goodyear's publicity director, a gentleman by the name of Robert Lane, he scheduled a 6-month barnstorming tour of the Eastern Seaboard. And this tour created so much publicity that company executives decided to keep the blimps and then fly them over sporting events.
You would think, back then, they had an excuse for not recognizing it because no one had ever seen a blimp before.
But you also have to think too, like in that time frame, Paul. Okay, in the 50s, okay, everyone's driving cars, right? Automobiles are everywhere, right?
There
Right.
you go.
So,
Yeah.
so what is more noted is in the mid 1960s, the first actual coverage of a sporting event was the Orange Bowl played in Miami, Florida.
Right,
Okay, that's the
right.
first one in
Okay.
the mid 60s, approximately. Now they are used in over 90 sporting events each year. Well, prior to the pandemic, they've been
Yeah,
used.
right.
Okay. Now, Goodyear does not charge any television network for their flights over events because the free publicity makes the service worthwhile. And
That's amazing.
become-
Even to this day. That's
even to
amazing.
this day, right. And also in 2019, last year, the National Football Federation announced that the blimp would be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. So
That's
that's an
wild.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting.
Blimp in the Hall
fact.
of Fame. Well,
Exactly.
if you think about it, most college stadiums, the major college stadiums, are open air stadiums as opposed
It's
to.
exactly right. Sure.
So yeah, so it's really associated with college football more
Yeah,
than
it serves that purpose exceedingly well. Couple quick facts. So each blimp is equipped with a crew of 23 people. There are 5 pilots, 17 support staff that work on rotating schedules. And there's also a public relations representative who's on board. The blimp cruises at a speed of 45 to 50 miles an hour. And actually,
I guess that sounds fast, but yet it compared to planes, it's slow.
no, it's slow actually.
Yeah.
And living where I live, between Akron and Cleveland, I've seen the blimp on its way to Cleveland for sporting
Yeah.
events,
Yeah.
and sometimes see him on the way back home to,
Right.
to Akron.
Well, there's a hangar in Akron. When we lived in Texas, very near our home, one of the remote hangars was in Houston. So we would see the blimp quite often
Oh, okay.
where we lived in Houston.
Sure. Now, each blimp can carry up to 9 passengers. And an interesting fact about that is there are no seat belts attached to the seats. Now, to me, if I'm up in the air, I'd like to be in a seat with a seat belt.
Yeah.
But for
Exactly.
some reason, they have not been equipped yet. So again, travel at your own risk.
Yeah.
Another fact, the camera operator, he shoots from what is called the passenger compartment through an open window at approximately 1,200 feet. And at 1,200 feet, this operator can see everything in sight. This person can read a scoreboard. He can hear the roar of the crowd. And the most difficult sport to film for these operators is golf. Because being only 1,200 feet off the ground, there cannot be any engine noise to disturb the golfers, or also casting a shadow over the green.
Wow.
That's the
Yeah.
one that amazes me.
Yeah,
The engine noise, I think, they can cut the engine and float.
Right.
But they have to watch the shadow to make sure they don't cast the shadow on the green.
Yeah.
And then the other part that scares the heck out of me is that the cameraman, this is a guy who makes these fantastic shots, is hanging out the window with a camera.
Tell you what, it takes some guts.
Right.
Takes some guts to do that, for sure.
Yeah. Who
Sure.
wants that job?
I don't
And
know.
no seatbelt. And no seatbelt.
It's what you sign up for, Paul. It's what you sign up for. Okay. So just as we wrap things up, there are now 3 blimps that cover sporting events.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, now the oldest ship in the fleet is called Wingfoot 1. And Wingfoot 1 was launched in 2014. It's covered the Daytona 500, the NBA Finals, the PGA Championships, and also the Stanley Cup Finals. Wingfoot 1 is stationed at Wingfoot Lake in Suffield, Ohio, which is just outside of Akron.
Right.
So
Okay,
it's
that's
not
the
in
one we
Akron
probably see all the time. Yeah.
Right. Wingfoot 2, the second blimp of the fleet, was built at Wingfoot Lake, and that was built in 2016. It is the only airship that has been stationed at all 3 of Goodyear's bases. So that's the claim to fame for Wingfoot 2. Wingfoot 2 also became the first Goodyear blimp in over 50 years to serve as a jump platform for skydivers when the USAF Academy Wings of Blue skydive team made an historic leap from above the Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee.
Now,
How about
what did
that?
they do? Jump out the window? What?
Hey, Paul, not making the news, just reporting it. So anyways, this was done on September 10th, 2016. And then this airship, this is Wingfoot 2, has appeared at the NBA Finals, the Oscars, which
Oscars.
kind of vaguely remember.
I guess people wager on it. So.
Right. The college football playoffs and numerous PGA Tour events, and also the Rose Parade.
Oh, that's right. Always a big blimp event.
And the last blimp in the fleet is Wingfoot 3. It was completed, okay, actually recently in 2018. So you have
Right.
to think they're still constructing
They're still
blimps.
building blimps. Yeah.
It's interesting. So it's stationed in Carson, California, and it's just in its first year of operation. It covered the Ohio State, Michigan State college football games, the MLB Home Run Derby, and also the All-Star game, which was done here in Cleveland, which I actually was fortunate to attend last
Oh,
year.
there you go.
At
Did
the
you
All-Star
did you
game.
see the blimp and think it was a UFO?
I did, and now when I just did this research, it's kind of amazing. I didn't know it was Wingfoot 3. Oh, it's like I told my friend, "Oh yeah, look, there's Wingfoot 3." I know.
Yeah, it's now. There you go, boy. Yeah, this is trivia for you for the next time you see it. Okay, so John, we've been talking about the blimp for 20 minutes here. Where did the name blimp come from?
I'm glad you asked that question, Paul. The word blimp is credited to Lieutenant A.D. Cunningham of the British Royal Navy Air Service, who during the First World War in 1915 whimsically flicked his thumb against the wall of an airship and he imitated the sound it made. The word blimp was born.
I love it. It's a guy thing, Karen.
Yeah, that
And they say, Paul and Karen, the rest is history.
That's great, John. Oh, as always, great trivia,
thank
great
you.
story. Thank you so much for that.
You're
That
welcome. It was
wild.
fun to do that one. Yeah.
So we have almost run out of time, which means we have to get right into Bluff the co-host.
Okay,
For those-
I'm ready.
This is the game that is just taking the country by storm,
It
the
is.
world actually. Yes. So the way we play it, I have 3 stories here, very similar to the stories we've been talking about all day, except the one difference is some may be true, some may be bluffs. And it's up to Karen and John to determine which is the truth and which is the bluff. So hands on the buzzer, we'll get right into it. Story number 1. Proving that the news out of Wisconsin isn't all about cheese, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources had to retract an official-looking emergency announcement recently, warning that a Bigfoot had been seen in one of its many state parks. The warning told anyone seeing a Sasquatch to avoid running away and to take a photograph first and write down the date and the time. After panic swept across the Badger State and it was swamped with phone calls, the Department of Natural Resources had to post a retraction on social media explaining that its website had been hacked and there was no Bigfoot sighting or warning. No one took credit for the hack, but recent visitors to the state park say they've been hearing howls that sound like laughing. So, other than that dramatic last sentence, real or bluff, Department of Resources had to retract a statement that caused panic across Wisconsin that there was a Bigfoot in one of its state parks. Karen, what do you think?
I'm going to say bluff.
Don't believe that
I just don't believe it.
Bigfoot's real.
Well, he may be real. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't.
Story's the bluff, okay? John, how about you?
I'm going to say it's real.
John thinks it's real. Oh, okay. John's going to try and continue his streak here. Let's see if he did. Take my notes here. John, you're ahead 1-0. That is a real story, yeah.
Oh.
How about that? Yeah, they don't know who hacked in, but it did. It caused a panic. People were oh my God, what are we going to do? Bigfoot. Okay. Could have been worse. Yeah, I know. Okay, story number 2. There are dating apps for humans and there are dating apps for dogs to schedule dog park meetups. And now there's a dating app for tropical fish. A pet shop in Delaware is trying to stay in business during the pandemic by offering a dating app for lonely tropical fish who live in aquariums by themselves and aren't being satisfied emotionally by their stay-at-home humans. The pet shop suggests downloading the app if your fish is looking listless. For $10 per fish, it will locate another tropical fish owner in your area who also has a lonely fish. Make the connection and help set up a date. For an additional fee, it will rent a bowl to transport your fish to the date. Due to the pandemic, the pet store suggests that the human chaperones wear masks and the fish stay in their own habitat, although glass-to-glass touching is allowed.
Oh my God.
Real or Bluff, the dating app for listless tropical fish who long for the look of another tropical fish. John, we'll start with you on that one.
I'll tell you
Real
what.
or Bluff.
I'll tell you what. I gotta pray that's a bluff. I gotta pray it's a bluff. If it's not a bluff, I don't know. My head's gonna explode. I don't know.
This is Delaware. It's not New Jersey, John. This is Delaware.
I understand exactly where it's setting is, Paul. I get that. No, I'm gonna say it's a bluff. I
Okay,
pray.
Karen. All right, John said it's a bluff. Karen, how about you?
I totally agree. It has to be a bluff. And if
Really?
not, I quit.
That's pretty
Oh,
drastic.
gee.
That's
Wait,
pretty
we
drastic.
need to get paid first.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, guess what? You're both right. That was a bluff.
Hey,
Oh, good.
not
Oh.
bad. Karen, nicely done.
John is in the lead. Whoa.
Yes, it is.
How about that?
Wait a minute, I have 5 in a row. That's like a record. That's a world
That is-
record.
well, that would be a record. No, it's not like a record. It is a record. John. Okay. All right. So Karen has a chance to catch up because points are doubled in round 3.
That's
Here we go.
Okay.
Story number 3. If you have an extra $1,400 to spend and you want your friends to think you've been having fun outside while they're huddling at home during the pandemic shutdown, Gucci is selling its top-of-the-line designer overalls with grass stains on the knees, the butt, and the bottom of the legs to make it look like you've been playing in the park. The denim overalls are made from organic cotton and eco-washed for that worn look, and the grass stains are made with organic dye that is treated to make the stains permanent. If you're more stylish, Gucci also offers grass-stained pants for $760. And if you prefer a look that says, "I'm stuck living at home with my poor in-laws," Gucci is selling wool sweaters with fake moth holes for just $550. Real or bluff? $1,400 Gucci jeans overalls, the kind of like bib overalls with grass stains. To impress your friends. Karen, would those impress your friends?
No. My friends and I can't afford Gucci. So it better be fake. It just better be. People can't be that stupid to buy this stuff.
Will your head explode if you're wrong?
Yeah, it is. It's
Okay.
exploding right now.
Oh boy. Oh, okay. Well, John, we could have 2 head explosions here, or we could have maybe my head explode. What do you think? Real or bluff?
Well, initially I thought it was true, but the more I thought of it, it's got to be a bluff. I mean, why do you go to the pains of like putting grass stains on your product? I mean, I'm going to say it's a bluff.
It's a bluff. $1,400 jeans with fake grass stains. You don't think it's real? Gucci?
gotta be
It's
a
Gucci. The Gucci labels on it.
Gucci is
Okay, get ready for the explosion because you're both wrong. That was a real.
Real?
story.
No
That is
way.
real.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
just shows you what people that have
Well,
money
people are
do with
idiots.
money.
You
Yeah.
better believe
Wow.
it. That's exactly right. People with too much money. Too much money. Thank God they're not spending it on drugs. They're spending it on
Yeah, really. Wait a minute. Here's a question. Here's a real quick question.
Okay.
So what if you just bought the jeans, okay, and you do the stains yourself? Why do you have to have stains? from
Yeah,
the
go out
money?
and have some fun.
Just go. That's right.
Oh, well, no,
Do
it's
that
even
part.
better,
do
Karen.
the actual activity. Go out into the backyard or go into the into the parkway and go jump around in the grass. And
Would
have a
you
grass
would you
stain.
go jumping on the grass in $1,000 jeans, John?
No, I would never do
What would
that.
your wife think?
Oh, my wife would kill me. I would be no longer married. I would be dead. I would be
And
dead.
that's my philosophy. I won't do it because I would be dead. That's what's gotten me through 40 plus years of marriage.
Uh,
And on that note, we've come to the end of another What in the World. What fun.
What a wonderful show this was
Yeah.
today. Great
Thank
show.
you so
everyone.
much.
Great
John-
show. Great show.
Don actually won.
Oh,
Well,
that's right.
yeah,
You did
two
win.
right
Oh,
compared to one. That's well,
yeah, I
Karen, it's
completely forgot.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
right. Well, the check is in the mail, John.
Check is in the mail. You got it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, have
Hey,
a good week, everybody. And
all right,
we'll
everyone, have a
Thank you
good
so
week.
much for tuning in. Bye-bye.
bye-bye
Take care.
now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.